In Korea, horror films are often associated with the summer season. But recently, horror content has been finding success even during spring, especially through stories closely connected to real-life fears and experiences. Today, we'll discuss why K-horror has been evolving and gaining renewed popularity with culture critic Professor Chie Hye-won from Kyung Hee University. Welcome back, Professor Ji.
Hello, Professor.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, let's start off with Salmokji, Whispering Water. This one recently became the highest grossing K-horror film of all time. So what do you say is behind the film's success?
That is correct. It is close to phenomenon that where Salmokji, Whispering Water, is a box office hit. As you just mentioned, it attracted over 3.2 million viewers, breaking the record for the highest grossing Korean horror film of all time. Also, for the first time in 23 years since A Tale of Two Sisters, 장화 홍련. So Salmokji is set against the backdrop of the actual Salmok Reservoir located in Gwangsi-myeon, South Chungcheong province, and is based on a true ghost story. And the fact that it is an actual everyday place enhances the audience's immersion. In other words, it has a strong texture of a ghost story that feels like it could actually happen around us. So unlike the traditional K-horror films centered on family or the superstition, this movie features everyday spaces of digital era as its theme, which particularly garnered interest from young audiences especially. And I think the diversity of the interpretation regarding the open ending is also a very interesting aspect of this film. So I believe the movie's success was driven by its viral spread on social media, primarily among the young audiences.
I see. And the K-Netflix series Girigo, or If Wishes Could Kill, ranked #1 globally among the non-English TV shows.
Right.
So, first of all, what does the title Girigo mean, and what do you think this series why it resonated with global audiences?
That's right. Girigo, the title of the series, as well as the name of the application that is caused the horror and the misfortune within the work, is derived from the verb girida, the Korean verb, which means to make a wish and transmit it. So in particular, Girigo received explosive interest from overseas viewers. I believe the combination of the traditional Korean shamanism with the everyday subject of the smartphone application offered the international audiences a sense of freshness, viewing it as the original K-horror never seen before. So in particular, the fact that this work realistically portrayed the emotions of teenagers that youth around the world can universally relate it to, such as academic performance or stress, friendship, jealousy, and the revenge is also a reason why it resonated with young audiences all over the world.
And also because the protagonists are young people as well. Because
Right.
I seem to see a lot of, students connected with K-horror films and dramas. Now, you did mention the application, the Girigo app that you can actually download. I didn't dare to do that after watching this series. I was too scared to do it.
Me too.
But do you think there is more of a turn towards experience-based, experience-based experiences
Right.
in the case of Girigo as well as Salmokji, because they go to the actual film locations?
Right. I believe that the current horror content is clearly shifting from a spectator-based to the experiential format, as you just mentioned. While the horror films in the past involved the audiences passively consuming fear within the narrative structure, recent works actively utilize a mechanism that allows the audiences directly participate and expand upon the experience. The audiences actually searched for the Girigo app on the App Store and downloaded over 1 million times. And originally, the app was a prop created for the filming the series, but as Netflix released it on the actual store, to offer viewers to an immersive experience. So it became a form of marketing that expands the series' worldview. And the actual place of Salmok Reservoir has become a representative the site for nationwide horror experiences. And then I believe this phenomenon is due to the immersive consumption culture as well. So which seeks to physically experience and enjoy the world view of media content in reality.
Yes, and classic horror films or dramas, they really use ghosts as sort of a topic in hand. If there was like a formula for Korean traditional horror content, what do you think it would be, and how has K-horror traditionally differed from horror in, let's say, other countries?
Yeah, traditional K-horror content was often simply about ghosts being scary, not simply about the ghost being scary, but rather about the emotions such as human wounds or the grudges returning in the form of ghosts. For example, American horror films often centers on external threats such as murders or monsters. However, in Korean horror, the terrifying entities often originated from someone's grievance or loneliness or trauma. In other words, the emotional backstory of why they became a ghost is extremely important in K-horror. So therefore, Korean horror works tended to prioritize feelings of discomfort, sadness, unpleasantness over jump like scaries. So of the two works we are discussing today, I think Girigo would be relatively carry on the lineage of the traditional K-horror works.
And expanding a little bit on that, Professor Ji, what do you think is the biggest changes that we're seeing in the evolution of K-horror films?
Biggest change. I think the biggest change is that the fear that becomes much closer to reality, as we just mentioned. So I mean, the recent K-horror can be seen as having become closer to anxiety that could easily happen in our daily lives rather than stories of special spaces with the ghost. So, and I believe the reason why the occult stories and the urban legend are particularly prevalent among teenagers, and it is related to the way that the current generation consumes ghost stories within the internet and platform format. So while ghost stories used to be passed down by the word of mouth in the past, now horror spreads and expands through the methods such as viral videos and the personal reviews on the diverse platforms.
Another trend that does seem to be appearing these days is shamanism and indigenous spiritual beliefs, which is really integrated in Korean culture as well. Do you think this uniquely Korean element actually feels fresher, or do you think international audiences really are drawn to this kind of thing?
I think so. Yeah, recently global audiences seem to be more strongly drawn to the unique sentiments and worldviews specific to the certain cultures, and rather than simply universal horrors. So in the past, when targeting the global market, the minimizing culture the differences and the adhering the familiar costumes like horror costumes were considered important. However, in the current OTT environments, regionality and the cultural distinctiveness often became the competitive advantages instead. So I believe the reason Korean shamanism is gaining attention all over the world is also connected to this trend.
What I just wanted to add earlier on is I think the elements in Korean horror movies and also just in global horror movies could change with this fast developing world, because now we have these smartphones and apps.
Right.
those kinds of elements, maybe we're also going to have, for instance, humanoid robots or AI involved in horror movies. That is how fast the world is changing. But do you guys feel it's kind of colder in the studio today a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope you guys have a great weekend, cozy weekend, and thank you very much, Professor Z, for your insights as always.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Walter, as always. Have a great weekend and see you next week.
See you soon.